Hello everyone, my name is Amol Nirgudkar. I'm the CEO of Patient Prism, and we're here live at the Patient Prism studios at the Dykema DSO industry event. What an event this has been. It's been a day and a half, 1,300 registrants. It's finally fun to meet people in person, shake their hands, break bread with them. And I'm here today with somebody I just got introduced to. I've heard a lot about him. The entire industry is talking about what Dr. Greg White's done at Pepperpointe Partnership. So Greg, welcome to our studios. Excited to hear and learn about what you're doing. That's so fascinating. That's really gotten the excitement and ears buzzed of everybody in this industry. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Mel. I really appreciate you having me here, and this has been a fantastic convention. I mean, just what Dykema is putting on here and the ideas that are being shared, it's really great to be a part of it.
You know, when I first heard about Pepperpointe, was through our mutual friend who's your CEO now, David North, and I was fascinated by what you brought together a group of almost 100 doctors and into a structure that's a win-win for everybody. So tell us, first of all, why you did what you did and what is the structure?
Right. Yeah, I love talking about it. You know, I was a practicing orthodontist for 28 years, and I saw the industry changes. They were obvious, the disruptions that were coming in. It was changing more quickly than I'd ever seen it before. And certainly the DSOs were growing significantly. Sure. And so as the manager of my orthodontic group, we had 20 locations, right, and there were 8 partners. It was my responsibility to look at all of our options on behalf of my partners. You know, what's our exit strategy going to be? What's it going to look like for our practice 5 years, 10 years down the road? Something we'd put our heart and soul into. Sure. And so I explored the different options. I looked at the DSOs. I talked to private equity directly, and really at the end of it, it became very obvious what that was going to look like for right. us. Right. And, there was going to be a valuation placed on our practice, right, and we were going to receive a check, right, and a greatly reduced income and some stock that may or may not, over some period of time, turn into more money. Right. And so I looked at the uncertainty of that, and I thought, man, there's got to be something different. So I started putting down some features that I would be looking for as an orthodontist. You know, we really didn't need a lot of money coming into us.
Correct, because you do it. Right.
Right. We certainly didn't want to take a decrease in income, right, but we saw so many people running to the exit that, when you see a lot of people running to an exit, you've got to assume that there's something going on, right?
Correct.
And so I started looking at it, and I thought, if we were to have our own DSO that was doctor-owned, what would that look like? What would a consolidation within our area look like?
Okay.
And so I started approaching some of the orthodontists in the area, and I started approaching some of the pediatric dentists in the area, and I said, hey, I think there's some disruptions coming here, and I think that we need to stop looking at one another as competitors and start looking at each other as partners.
Okay.
And if we put that into a formal structure, okay, I think we can create a wall of protection around us that will protect us from many of the disruptions out there.
Absolutely.
Those disruptions are the higher cost of staying relevant and known. They're the higher cost of supplies and equipment.
Absolutely.
Is the pressure of downward pressure of lower compensation
right,
from
right,
third-party payers. So I started looking at that and thought, if we were together, we could probably make some changes there. So I brought this idea to them, and it resonated with them. So about 5 months after that, on August 3rd of 2019,
okay,
20 unique practices, mm-hmm, 16 pedo and 4 ortho, mm-hmm, making up 50 practices, 50 office locations, all came together to form one company, and no money changed hands at all. So,
all right, you figured that out from a tax perspective too.
Oh yeah, it's
okay,
a tax-free exchange.
Okay.
So at that point, now we have basically built a wall of protection around us.
Okay.
Because it's going to be very difficult, or it would be unlikely that a DSO would come into an 80% consolidated market in the ortho-pedo side.
Correct,
so I felt very good about that. We were able to negotiate increases with third-party payers of around 35-40%.
And we were able to,
yeah.
And reduce the cost.
And reduce the cost by about 35%. So the profitability went up immediately. And then that worked so well that I had the general dental practices come to me and said, hey, can we do the same thing? So 1 year later, on October 1st of 2020, on the heels of COVID, they formed into one company, 37 practices, 42 locations, 47 doctor owners, all owning the group practice and their own DSO. And so the way it's structured is when they get ready to retire, they sell their ownership back in the group practice to the group, and that's passed along to the next generation of dentists who are the associates in the group, so that we're able to reconstitute the old transition model, but one that works in today's marketplace. So we hand off the torch to them. And the great thing about it, as an owner in the DSO, as the founders within that consolidation, both within GP and within pedo ortho, they get to keep their ownership in the DSO, so it answers the age-old question, how can I retire and still maintain my lifestyle, because they have passive income in retirement.
Oh, they're still keeping the ownership of the DSO.
That's exactly right.
So there is no plan for an exit event?
No, in fact, I made it virtually impossible to exit, because within the operating agreement of Pepperpointe, as well as those group practices, it requires a majority, supermajority vote of 75% of the members, one member, one vote, despite the ownership in the group, to ever be able to sell.
Oh, wow.
Well, I've never seen 3 orthodontists that can agree on a treatment plan, so there's no way they're going to agree to sell a company.
So you're saying everybody comes in, they everything is optimized, there's economies of scale and cost, there's better reimbursements on the top line, their income has gone up. Are you going to provide any support services at the DSO level? So
here's where they're alike. This is where we are like other support services or other DSOs.
Right.
We provide the payroll aspects, the benefits administration for all of the employees. We provide the marketing plan and strategy for all 57 brands, because everybody keeps their own name. The public doesn't even know this occurred, because they're still going to the same dentist in the same location under the same name with the same people. Nothing even changed there. We also are able to monitor all of the metrics of the practice in real time through cloud-based practice management system. So that is one thing that's changed, is each of those groups go onto one practice management system for that group. So it might be on the ortho side, CloudNine, Dentrix Ascend for pedo, Dentrix Ascend for GP, but that allows us to be able to get all of the metrics in real time, and then through our BI dashboard, we're able to make good decisions on how we can identify issues and then correct them on their behalf.
Would you plan to offer call center services in the future?
So the call center service, probably not. We do have that for one of our brands, the White Group Maggard Ortho brand, but it's been in place for a long time.
Right.
It is very difficult to have that individualized attention with the patient when you don't know that patient. So I'm a firm believer in to maintain continuity of care, to have calls coming in here. Also, the model itself provides long-term continuity of care and commitment to the communities by passing off the ownership from our generation to the next generation, and having ownership and the security of that in there, plus the profits that come from the group practice as well as base compensation. They're likely to stay much longer, because we're not only competitive, we're superior in what we can provide in terms of compensation, because we don't have that 30% ROI that we have to return back to the institutional investors through the PE fund.
Interesting. So marketing services is something that you would offer on an a la carte basis, or would you say, hey, we're offering marketing to everybody, and people can either choose to do it or not? I mean, I'm questioning.
Yeah, so if you are one of the practices that come into that formation of that overall group practice, you may want to take advantage of the Pepperpointe marketing team or not. They would help you. They would take a look at see what you've done in the past, what's worked, what hasn't, and come up with a plan that then they will help through your office personnel implement, or you can choose not to. So you can choose as much of that or as little of that as you want.
There's no requirement when you join the group to utilize support services that are offered by the by the well, let's say I'm gonna call you a DSO.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. We are a dental
just an
service organization.
Just
Yes.
an alternative model. That's
Yeah.
all that is.
Right. We just don't owe anybody. We haven't taken any money, and we're doing this ourselves. And in all of those consolidations, no money changes
How
hands.
did you handle debt of all these practices?
Yeah. So what happens a lot of times is they will have some practice debt. We're not a real estate company, so we enter into an agreement through the group practice, then basically leases back from the individual owner of the property. But there is sometimes practice debt that comes in. Well, since all of the assets are going to be owned, the assets of that entire group, remember, Pepperpointe doesn't own any of this group. We're simply facilitating their consolidation, okay?
Okay.
So remember, we're not paying them anything. We don't own any of it. They own the group that they're putting together. We're simply facilitating all of that, negotiating on their behalf, and entering into a managed service agreement with them in order to provide these services and take away their night job, right?
Correct.
And we are generating enough savings in year one that they're going to be able to tie back to their original income, and it will continue to grow because after we do the consolidation, the people within that geographic region that chose not to be part of that, then we look at acquisition of them, okay? And they get bought by the group, and that causes that to be able to grow, and the 15-year plan becomes pretty significant for each of those individuals, and especially the passive income portion that they're receiving all along the way while they're working and into retirement and beyond, and they never have to get rid of that. That goes to their heirs.
But what happens when the doctor dies? Now the estate's going to own part of the thing?
The estate will own the stock in the DSO.
I see. And whatever the profit would be allocated based on whatever that.
It's paid out quarterly. Yep, distributions are quarterly.
Interesting. Very interesting. Did you guys build your own BI tool?
We did.
Okay.
We used Tableau, which, but we have built our own tool that feeds into it. That's
Tableau.
exactly right.
So now that allows you to really look at metrics
Oh, yeah.
on a centralized basis,
Yes.
taken from CloudNine, from Dentrix Ascend, and tie it all together so you can look at the health of all the 90 offices, whatever that you guys have, and be able to really provide value add services.
Yep. We can break it down anyway. We can look at ortho as a group, as a unit. We can look at pedo as a unit. We can look at GP as a unit. We can look at the ortho pedo combination as a unit. We can look at what labor is across the board for all of it. We can break it down to each individual practice and see exactly what's going on there. We can look at it in any way, and we can see it right then very quickly. And then, so our goal is to really kind of share best practices. How is this practice generating this kind of profit versus this one when they're working the exact same number of hours in the same days a week and they have the same number of personnel? Well, it's usually a process issue, right? So 80% of all problems are people problems and 20% are process problems. The people problems usually are either the wrong person, meaning they don't subscribe to the same core values as this, or they're in the wrong seat. So right person, right seat, with processes documented, shared by all. So that's what we're trying to do, is help them become the best version of themselves.
And they're open.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was part of the deal. Was, as you said earlier, that you can get two orthodontists to agree on treatment plans. Are they going to agree to this Pepperpointe philosophy of care?
Well, the care is still in their hands. So they're two different things. Corporate dentistry, as it's called so many times, is not about how someone performs dentistry. What people mistake that for sometimes is how to run an effective business. Okay, it's the principles, business principles, that many of us do not learn in dental school, and we learn the hard way. Fortunately, the profit margins in dentistry has been good enough that you do not have to be a good business person, where you can have a good practice and a poor business, but still a good income, right?
Correct.
But now that's all changing because the climate's changing and the pressures on the solo practitioner are getting more difficult. So our model is really for people that know they need to do something, something, but they would rather self-consolidate to preserve what they have built rather than selling their practice and taking the huge hit in income and then not knowing what's going to happen to their patients and their staff long term.
Correct.
So the big clear difference is, in most other models, here's your money, here's your stock, here's your decreased income. With us, it is your no money up front. Your income will continue to rise without you having to work anymore. You will have a known buyer that's able to perpetuate your legacy at a known formula whenever you get ready to retire, and you get passive income through your continued ownership in the DSO that you keep forever. Those are the choices. So I'm not saying one is better than the other.
Right.
I am saying that it is a second option for people who love what they're doing. They love practicing. They love every part of what they're doing. It's just that these disruptions are becoming a nagging problem for them, okay? And they don't know if they're going to be able to hang on long term. They want their income protected. They want a great exit strategy, and they would love to that extra benefit of knowing that they have passive income in retirement and their lifestyle doesn't have to change after retirement. And they also love the fact that this practice is going to get passed on to another generation of dentists that is going to be an owner that is going to stay for 25 or 30 years and not have the 30 to 35% turnover rate that you see in so many of the others.
I mean, it's a fascinating model. Right now, you're all in Kentucky.
We are.
Have people reached out to you from all over the country about, man, this sounds exciting?
Yeah, so really what we did is, when I started exploring all the options, I truly didn't know what the DSOs were doing. I didn't know what options were available.
Sure.
And so as I kept going down the exploration path, I saw that they were all pretty much the same in the sense of where it ended up. So you've got loose affiliations right now that are becoming tighter, but ultimately I think that you're going to see consolidation. Okay,
right.
It's going to occur.
Correct.
What form is that going to take? What is it going to look like? And does that one model, that one size fits all, okay, meaning the main features of it, here's your money, here's your stock, and here's your decrease in pay. Is that what everybody out there wants? Or if they had an opportunity to be able to protect themselves and their income, along with knowing what that exit strategy was, is that something that people would choose? So we had to do it as a proof of concept in Kentucky because I wasn't sure what the answer was going to be.
Correct.
And so we sent that out to them, the messaging, and said, hey, are you interested in it? And in that one day, 50 offices and 20 practices, and then that other day, 14 months later, 37 practices and 42 offices. So 92 practices within a very tight geographic region all said, yes, we want to do it. And here we are almost 2 years later on one and 9 months later on the other, and there are none of them that would say they would have done anything differently.
Wow.
Now remember, they gave up some level of autonomy.
Yes, they do. I mean, you have to.
They did, in terms of, making every single business decision. Now, they used to be the solo board owner in their private practice, solo practice. Now they're one of a group of people that all sit on not just a clinical board, the real board that makes the decisions, okay? Pepperpointe is simply presenting all the options to them about which way to take that business.
But are you making it easier to make decisions, or is it just logjam and like, oh my God?
We make it very easy. Basically, we know what the issues are that they're facing. I serve as the manager of those group practices so that I can make sure that we're well integrated between the DSO and the group practice. And so I know what the issues are. We know what the goals are. Okay, and then I present options to them and guidance, and it has gone extremely well. We have had a unanimous vote on every single vote that has come up in both of those companies. The GP
that is unbelievable.
Every single meeting that we've had for the last 2 years, every board meeting, unanimous vote on everything that's come up.
That's the key, right? That's the key to really get these guys to buy into something that may individually, obviously, the loss of autonomy is tough for anybody as a human being. But I guess as long as you are working towards the best interest of the group and and with enough communication, you'll get these guys to buy in.
And that's the key. You really have to be able to communicate everything, come up with the plan, make sure everybody understands that plan and agrees with it. It's as if each of these, they were all individuals doing their own thing, and now they're part of a team. Nice. And so what they have to understand is, okay, my job is I'm playing shortstop for the team. What's my role as shortstop for this team? And understanding that, accepting that, and then living up to it. And I'm very clear with them up front about this. If that's not you, if you're not a team player and you don't believe in the mission and the vision of perpetuating what you've built and protecting what you've built for the purpose of protecting the people that you have served, then this isn't for you.
Right for you.
Right. So you got to be willing to compete. And we want to come along, folks, in geographic areas that want to fight for their backyard. If they're not willing to fight for their backyard, when you ask if we're going out to other places, and we have had folks that have come to us, and we are working in 2 different states right now of helping them consolidate because they want to fight for what they've built and they're willing to do it. Some things are worth fighting for, and I'm looking for those people that believe that.
And there's going to be enough everywhere, right? There's going to be enough everywhere. I love the model. It's non-traditional based on what I've seen all my life, but I think there is enough out there, enough people out there that want what you're offering, and you're offering them an alternative. So it's such an incredible thing to listen. I look forward to. I mean, I visit Kentucky a lot, so
well, come on down. We want to have you there.
I would look forward to. The only thing I'm gonna get your promise on is take me to one UK game one day.
Oh, anytime.
That's it. Apparently, it's the hardest tickets in the world to go to.
Well, I'll tell you what. You come down, and I will guarantee you, I will walk you right into the craft center, right onto the floor, and right up to John Calipari. Okay.
Well, that's it. You got a deal. You got a deal.
That's what I did with David. When David came in for his interview, you mentioned him early.
Yes.
He interviewed for the full day, and then we had a little some bourbon there on the bourbon bar in my office, and so I poured him some Weller 12, and then I said, "Here, you bring that with you. We got to run somewhere." So I took him down to the craft center. We walked in. We walked down onto the floor. John Calipari walked right past me, came up to David and said, "Hey, David, I've heard all about you. Welcome to Kentucky."
Oh, man. Oh, my God. That would be something else. That would be something, because I would be winning a big bet.
All right.
The Calipari was not even a question, but just to be able to go in. Apparently, there's a privilege to be put on a waiting list. Right now,
for the season tickets, they've been sold out.
100 grand to have the privilege to be on a waiting list. That's 100 grand long.
That's exactly right.
It's unreal.
I can get you past that list. Okay.
Well, I would love to go to one game just to see. It's been a dream for me for a long time.
Anytime.
But what a pleasure talking to you. I'm excited to visit you guys in Lexington and spend time with your team. I've known David for a long time, and truly excited to see how this grows. I think this could be one of the largest groups out there in the nation.
Well, and it's not our goal to necessarily be large. What we want to do is we want to be really, really good, and we want to be able to serve well, and we want to be able to offer an alternative. And I will have to say this. We have an executive executive leadership team, rather, that's made up of 6 people, and 4 of them are women. So
that's amazing. We're big supporters of women in DSO.
And that's the reason I brought that up, because I don't know that is real common, but I'm going to tell you, they are amazing. So it's David and I and 4 women that are leading Pepperpointe's team. Our chief strategy officer, our chief people person, our chief marketing director, and are all, and then our CFO are all female, and they're fantastic.
It's phenomenal. I look forward to meeting all of them.
All right, I can't wait.
Thank you, Greg. This is amazing, actually. Over the last few years, I've done so many of these, and every time I come out of this, I'm like, man, this is the most learning I've done. Like, I've never imagined this structure would even exist. But I think you've got something going on that's going to just catch like wildfire all across the country.
Yeah, you're very kind, and from your lips to God's ears.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.